Hi guys, welcome to the session. My name's Paul, this is Plan Z, this is my GT1000. We're going to dive straight into the settings. I've been getting it on with my 2-notes and GT1000. We've got a slightly different way of miking it today. I'm still using the VOX AC30 EL84 sim on 2-notes. This is my medium gain VOX. We're going to dive into the settings for you. I'm just going to run through these settings quickly, but I just want to talk to you about what I've done. I've added a mic on the back of the amp now, so on both the left and the right speakers, you've got, I think I'm using the 421 and the condenser 87, one on the left, one on the right, and then behind that I'm using a ribbon mic to capture the back of the amp on each of those mics. And it's brought all the warmth back in and allowed me to have experimented more with this amp. So let's just have a look at what I've done. I've changed a few things. I normally have my low cut at the front here. It's when I was kind of chasing amp in the room and not getting very far. So I've moved it to the back of the amp, and I find it's giving me more of a tighter studio type feel. Okay, so there's nothing here at the front end. I've got my HXeffects. Now what I've done is I've got an always on compressor at the end of the chain that we'll see in a minute, but in the HXeffects I've got a compressor boost at this point. Okay, so I can just boost myself. I've then got a couple of boosts here. I've got a Centaur. There's the settings for my Centaur. I've got it set to solo mode, and next to it I've got the Tube Screamer. There's my Tube Screamer. Look, no gain, pushing it a little bit, taking a little bit of bottom out there. Actually, on the clone I've taken out quite a lot of bottom, if I remember right, down to about -10. Now my medium and high gain are in the amp that's highlighted. The low gain is in here. But first, let's just sound check. That's my medium gain. Let's sound check that against the Sheriff. That's the Sheriff. And that's my VOX. Now if we go to the low gain, you can see I've now boosted the resonance, taken all of the sag out. And in the last session I kind of mentioned how the lower your presence is, the more of your highs you have. Well, what happens is there's a relationship here between the bass, the treble and the presence. And what you're doing is you're turning up your trebles high to get the chime, but then you boost the presence to trim the treble back. Does that make sense? And it also affects the frequencies that's pushed here. So it allowed me to push the bass more, and it now feels more like it's valvy. There's my Sheriff. Obviously the Sheriff's got higher gain there. There's my clean. Now my medium gain amp, pushing the gain at 63. Again, I've done the same with the resonance and sag. And again, it's allowed me to boost the bass. And I've boosted my trebles here. And I'm not getting that nasty fizziness now. Why is that? Now I've got a separate EQ for this amp over this amp. Let's deal with the one that's dealing. So here is where I've got my high and low cut. I've got a high cut 125. I like it 125 for my beats and bass to cut through. And my high cut at 8. Now I'm cutting 500, about -3 on a Q of 2 I think it is. I can't quite see the screen where I am. And then I'm boosting the overall level a bit because I've made some cuts. Now in the EQ that's on here, there's no high-low cut obviously, but I have taken out some 5K on a very tight Q. I've taken out, and that's a Q of -4. I've gone -4 on the dB of taking that out. Just takes out a bit of hiss. And I've taken out about 4K. What does that do? Well, look, if I take these two EQs off, this first one is trimming the highs. Take it off again. very subtle. And then this one is dealing with some lower frequencies. Here I've taken out the 315 that I normally take out at the front. And that is it, that's all I've done there. So let's just turn that on. You see how that's taken that muffledness out. Now I find with modelling, there's this kind of low-end muffledness that can happen, even with P90s or my Tele, and I usually find it somewhere around the 315 Hertz. What's nice about the P90s, which is what we're playing here, it's Gibson Les Paul special tribute. We're in the middle position. I don't know if I mentioned the guitar yet. I should have done that at the very beginning. Anyway, so that's what I've done with the EQs. Let's go back to this this amp here, and let's look at what changes when I engage the high gain of it. So the treble trimmed a little bit, and I'm pushing the mids. Okay, so that's this patch. Now in this patch I can kind of do the stereo split trick, but I do it in a different way. So I come down my signal chain, and then here, let's stick on the compressor. It's hardly touching my level, right? So I'm going to leave that compressor on now. Now let's just go to a medium gain. Show you the second screen of that. Usually on a 2-to-1, 30% there of the direct mix coming through. Now here, what I do is I engage this and I go, look, I just split the signal in this version. In the next patch we do it as stereo amps, it's different. And here you want to set your spread at 50. Anything above that puts too much of a spread in, I find, for what I want to use. But for example, if you wanted those guitars to feel closer to the middle, not so wide, you place it somewhere like that. But I'm going all the way out to there. So let's just come back in. Now let's have a look at the other way of doing this. What I'm going to do is just save that on the high gain, because we're going to have a jam in a minute. Now in this next patch, we've got a low and a medium gain dialed in differently. Not as full. Let's go into the patch. Now what happens here is I've got two amps, and I'm just dialed them in slightly differently. I'm just going to flick through very quickly on this, because you can dial in your own amps. They're all dialed in differently. We'll be here all night otherwise. And on the other side, I might have done very slightly different things. But what I have done is on the EQ of both sides, I've done very different things, or say very slightly different things again. So on one, I've pushed highs and dropped the lows. And on the other one, I've dropped the lows even more, or pushed them and done something else with the highs. And I will have affected different frequencies in here, or affected them in different ways. Okay? So there I've got a tight cut of 4K, but I've cut the highs overall by -1. And on this side, I've pushed the highs overall by +1. Taken out 200 rather than 315, and I've taken out 315 on a slightly wider Q. And what that means when I engage both amps is it helps that stereo spread, and I've got two different things happening. Okay? Now for example, what I could do is play one part. So if I hit another button, I can go into the right ear now, and I'm just in the right amp. Now if I played a part in using a low gain on that side, switched to this side, but then went to a high gain, or that's a medium gain, sorry, I could get more of my stereo spread, okay? And here I've got an always on compressor, and I go through a similar EQ you know, and EQ them so they sound different to my main patch, so it cuts through. So what we're going to do now is we've got another patch where we've got a medium and high gain set up. Let's have a quick jam with that and the main patch so we can see how this works. Alright guys, so here we are. I've picked up the Tele. So this is the low gain. We're on the neck pickup. This is the medium gain. This is my high gain. Remembering here we can double track it. Okay, so now we've done that, let's pick up the Les Paul. Okay, so this has got slightly older strings on it, but this is the neck pickup, low gain. You can hear it drives the amp more. This is the medium gain. High gain. Back pickup. Let's get the P90s. Okay, so we're now on the P90s. Hang on. Neck pickup. Gonna go to both pickup positions. It's a bit brighter. Back pickup. But yeah, let's now move to this stereo patch. Okay, so we're going to move to this patch here, and before I do anything, I'm going to turn up the 2 notes by 1 dB to 0 to unity gain. Just a hair on the sheriff. Okay, both pickup positions. Let's go to our medium gain amp, and we'll start with the sheriff. A slightly different EQ on it. Going to start the beats. We're going to go into the left ear, stick the sheriff part in. The other ear, stick on a tube screamer and a reverb. Okay, let's just take that down a notch. Let's undo what we did there. Now let's do this with a, take the reverb off. With the VOX. Okay, ready. Now we've got them in, let's switch between the two, see what the difference sounds like. Let's switch it on the next round. So you can hear the nasalness of the Vox, hang on. It's got more nose to it. Okay, so we're on the high gain, it's kind of reverb. Still got a tube screamer. Now when I come in, I'm going to go totally dry, just the high gain Vox with the backing track coming from the Sheriff. Back pickup. Swap the backing guitar. Now the Vox. Put in something mellower. Gonna go both pickups. Bit of chorus. Bit of a shimmer, reverb. Build that up a little bit. Let's go back to our main lead patch, go to the low gain, stick on the verbs, stuck on some delay from HXeffects. When this pink one is on, it engages whatever's on here, but this top row is before the amp. I've put on a tube screamer with a bit more drive to it, and a synth. Let's see if we can't do something here. Tube screamer, get rid of that delay and prepare a reverb for later. Little boost. That's just a compressor for the amp. Get rid of the synth. Medium gain with the tube screamer. Stop that there, just have one last little jam. that compressor off. Bit of reverb from HXeffects. That's the Ganymede reverb, working with separately parallel to the Boss. Okay, let's end that there. Very nice. Hopefully that sounded okay and I can use it. Let's see how we get on. Hope you're well, stay safe. Oh, and if you can't be good, be careful.